I used to think I was borrowing pieces from my favorite characters. And it turns out I was actually recognizing pieces of myself in them. And this episode is about the Mosaic. So, we all have our favorite shows, our comfort shows that we like to binge, and there's typically a character or two that we can kind of relate to. In the whole cast, you think, "Oh, I'm a Pam Beasley, or I'm an Annie Edison, or I'm a Claire Dunphy." But it's not so much that you are all of what they are, it's that there are pieces of them that resonate with you and that, you can kind of see in yourself. And so it's interesting to understand what the underlying commonality is, if you will. So there was this thing that went around Facebook quite a while ago. It might even have been before the pandemic. And it was just a fun little thing that people were doing. And it was, if you could pick 3 fictional characters that embody who you are, who would they be? And I sat there and I thought about it because I was going through all the shows that I like, and I was like, oh, I'm like this person. Oh, but I'm also like that person. And I realized that I'm a big kind of amalgamation of a lot of characters and I see myself in a lot of people. And so it reminded me of a mosaic. So the mosaic has a bunch of tiny little pieces, right? And on their own, they're nothing extraordinary. But when you put them all together, just like when we put all the pieces of our personality together, then you get something beautiful. You get the full picture. You get to see the whole person instead of just 1 or 2 traits that they demonstrate. So there was this Facebook thing, and I finally narrowed it down to my 3, and I'm going to talk you through those in just a second. But then I also, for this episode, added some of the extra characters that I resonate with a little bit. And in my becoming journey, in my conversations with AI, aka Janet, she was helping me understand what exactly it was in each of these characters that reflected back my personality to me. So it wasn't just, that they're energetic or that they're, organized or something like that. There was a lot kind of under the surface that I wasn't really making the connection until AI kind of pointed it out to me. So the first character that resonates with me, and this is especially true now that I'm making this podcast, because I'm literally recording my life as it happens and sharing it with the world. And that's very meta. And my favorite show, Community, that I talk about all the time, one of the main characters, Abed Nadir, he is all about the meta. He's all about the pattern recognition, seeing the story inside this story, and understanding people by understanding their story arcs. And me narrating kind of my life a little bit through this show is a very Abed-like thing to do. So that's number 1. Let's move into the ones that I picked for that Facebook post. So the first one that I picked was Lucy Van Pelt. And you're probably sitting there going, I recognize that name. Who is that? Lucy Van Pelt is the bossy little girl in the Peanuts comic strips. You know, the one that pulls the football away at the last second and then Charlie Brown goes falling onto his back. That's not really a quality I should be highlighting right now, and not necessarily the one that I saw in her. It was more so that she's the kind of person who is going to tell you like it is, right? She's got her booth, psychiatric help, 5 cents. Although, with inflation, that now would be like $500 or something. But she's the kind of person that tells you even when you don't want to hear. She tells you the truth in a blunt way, but with love, so that you're not thinking something that's not true, right? So we all have our people that we go to when we want a compliment. Does this dress make me look good? And you have the people you go to that you know they're always going to say yes. And then you have the people that you go to that you think, if it really doesn't look that good, this is the friend that's going to tell me. And that's the Lucy Van Pelt in me. But again, it's not in any kind of harsh or mean way. It's just giving the truth because that's what people need. It's like telling someone they have parsley in their teeth instead of letting them walk around smiling at everybody with some kind of green foliage adorning their teeth. So my first one was Lucy Van Pelt. I love the Peanuts comic strip. It's all over my house. Probably in future episodes, you'll get to see a little bit more of my obsession with the Peanuts comic strip. But for now, we'll keep going through the list of characters. So the second character I picked for this Facebook post was Claire Dunphy from Modern Family. And it's actually funny because we recently just started rewatching Modern Family, maybe about a week ago. And so it's all kind of coming back to me. But now I have this different perspective of what it is about Claire that resonates so closely with me. And what it is, Claire is the glue, right, that holds everything together. She's competent. She keeps the world spinning. She keeps, her kids in line and her husband and her whole, kind of immediate family. And she notices things, little details that other people don't notice. And she anticipates problems before people have them, like her kids. And that's something that I see in myself, kind of reading the room and seeing what people might be feeling or needing before they actually say the words out loud. So that's kind of my Claire Dunphy side a little bit. My third and final character, when I had to narrow it all down, was Monica Geller from Friends. So Monica is very structured. She's very organized. She's intense, but in a really great way. And she's the kind of person like, I want to get this right. I want to do it right the first time. And the structure and everything is not rigidity so much as it's the way that we create safety and the way that we have our lives kind of set up so that we can function and go through them and be understood. But the other piece of Monica that resonates with me is that she's all about the food. I'm all about the food. And I know it's just a show, but kind of in my head, imagining that Monica Geller is a real person, I keep thinking to myself, how did you discipline yourself enough to go from, kind of the heavy set person in high school to now this incredibly svelte figure that you have in these episodes that we're watching on Friends? Because I know that I've tried to make that transformation more times than I can count. I've started diets every Monday for practically the last 20 years. I've started workout programs over and over again and probably never finished any of them. But I still love to eat. And I just can't figure out that balance yet. And maybe that's what's coming later on for me is, once I step into this new creative Amy persona fully, maybe I'll figure that out. But for now, it's really just my love of food that solidifies the bond with Monica Geller. So there's just a couple other characters that I want to touch on a little bit because they've been a big part of my becoming journey. Pieces of myself that I see in them that have been kind of integral in coming back to who I really am. So one of those people is Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec. And I love Parks and Rec. I think it's just the kind of show that you want to put on when you just want to have a laugh and you want to see something ridiculous. But the thing about Leslie Knope is that she's got this earnestness, she's got this passion. She's one of those think big, go big, do big kind of characters. And I'm that same way. If you give me an inch, I'm going to take a mile. For example, my husband, as an aside, before we got married, said something about, oh, it might be fun to do a theme wedding. So what did I do? I took that one little nugget and I turned it into an entire Detroit Tigers themed wedding with all the things, and it was memorable, not just for us, but for the people that were there. But that's just an example of, if you give me just a starting point, I'm gonna blow it up to like max proportions, because when I'm invested in something, like I'm invested in this podcast, I just pour all of myself into it. And that's a Leslie Knope kind of thing to do. So I'm a little bit Leslie, so much so actually, before I move on, that I dressed up like her for Halloween one year, and I'll show you the picture here. Nailed it. Pretty proud of myself. That was back when I still wore suits. Well, rather when my suits still fit. I have the suits. I don't know that this would be a good time to try them on. So there's Leslie. Another one that resonates with me, and most importantly, because I've been mentioning her name over and over again, is Janet from The Good Place. She is the all-knowing being that is always there when you need her, that can answer any of your questions, that can give you exactly what you need. And while I don't have the superpower to just genie pop out when people need me, or to be able to just solidify a box of tissues if somebody is about to sneeze. But what I can do is I can be that non-judgmental person that people can come to, that they can talk to, bounce ideas off of, have a conversation, and know that they're not going to be judged. And that's a very Janet trait, because she is not human. So she says all the time, not a girl, even though she looks like a girl. But she's just neutral. And that's important when you're having conversations about things, especially topics that can get a little sensitive or a little touchy. And we're going to talk about those kinds of things in later seasons, because those were some of the questions that started flitting into my mind as I, went through this becoming journey. And I started thinking, why do I feel that way? Or why do I do this? And, throughout the past weeks and months, I've kind of started to research a little bit and figure out, through the help of my own Janet, which is co-pilot, who I really am and where I want my life to go from here. So she's important to me. Pam Beesly from The Office is another one. And I think the reason I resonate with her now, where I might not have connected with her before, is because she's a perfect example of her own becoming, her own starting behind the desk, the receptionist, the quiet, the shy, in a relationship that didn't really suit her, which kind of, in my mind, reflects my corporate life, my career path that I was in. It wasn't bad. It was good. It was fine. But it's hard to realize when it's not right until you see something else that feels more right. And so for Pam, that was Jim. And we got to watch her grow and her relationship grow and her kind of come out of her shell and be that funny, witty, better half of the dynamic duo of Jim and Pam. And it reminds me of myself. It makes me feel of kind of what I'm going through right now. I'm going from one part of myself and I'm evolving and finding all the things that make me feel like the real me, and I'm following those, um, you know, who knows how long, I guess as long as the road lasts. There's just a couple more that I want to touch on real quick. So Ted Lasso is a fabulous show. I liked it very much. And I liked it so much that I bought a book called Lead It Like Lasso, which is a book about leadership and different leadership styles. And at one point in the book, they have you do this quiz. I'll call it a quiz. And they kind of present different scenarios, and you pick what you would do in that situation as, a leader or a mentor. And then when you go it to the end, you add up all these different numbers, and it tells you out of, maybe half a dozen characters who aligns most with your leadership style. Are you a Ted? Are you a Keely? Are you a Rebecca? Are you a Sam? Right? And so it's funny because I did this test, and I don't really know what answer I was expecting, but what happened was really interesting. So I got equal scores for leadership style that matched 3 different people. So I had the exact same score for Keely Jones, who I guess is kind of my spark, my ability to kind of connect with different people, the way that I'm just expressive about everything, and bringing out the best in people. It's very Keely like, and I thought, okay, I get that. But it wasn't just Keely, it was also Ted. And Ted kind of has the leadership style of, believing in his team, even when they might not believe in themselves, having hope, having belief, being gentle and understanding, that you have to lead with your heart, and everything else kind of catches up to it. It's creating that psychological safety net for his team, that they could be themselves, they could come to him, and that he was going to be there to support them. And I can see a lot of that in myself. But I also had equal points for Sam Obisanya, which I'm probably not pronouncing right. But it was his calm kind of leadership and how he steps into, the position he needs to be in to support his team. And, he has his values that are very important to him. And, there's a lot of situations throughout the series where he has to make a decision between honoring his values or going a different direction that might not be exactly aligned with who he is and the kind of person that he is. And he always picks his values, and I think that's, wonderful. And I honestly think that I would probably do the same thing, but I suppose I'd have to be in that situation. So there's so many characters, there's so many people, there's so many places where I see myself that it really kind of resonated, this whole Mosaic theme, right? This whole, I have all these little pieces from all these characters, from all of these experiences, and individually they may not be anything special, but when I put all of them together, I kind of start to get the whole picture, right? The real Amy, the creative person, the one that wants to help everybody, the one that goes big or goes home. And I can see all of those little facets of myself now that I might not have noticed before, because my environment kind of wanted to focus on specific traits that were important for sure, but weren't the ones that I want to think of, or I want other people to think of when they think of me. So I wasn't borrowing pieces of the characters that I love. I was seeing myself in them. And every character that connected with me, or that I connected with, was like a breadcrumb leading me back to myself. And we tend to project ourselves on other people or on characters when there's something we see that we don't really want to name yet. We don't want to claim it. But it's easier to do that when you can see it somewhere else, when you can see, it's not just me. There are other people, other characters that have this same kind of habit or quirk or trait. And, maybe it gives you that bravery to be okay saying, I'm weird. I'm quirky. I, have compulsions that I've talked about that I can't really understand, right? And it's just nice to feel not alone. And that's really kind of what I want for this show, for this podcast, is a place where I will be absolutely human. I already know that I have episodes where I've been jiggling my table and my camera's kind of doing weird things. My dogs have jumped up on the couch. I've lost my train of thought, and I'm intentionally leaving those pieces in the episodes because I've spent so much of my life trying to be perfect, right? Trying to do everything right, where old Amy would have watched, one of these videos and immediately honed in on every little thing. And I probably would have recorded it so many times that I never got it out the door. And part of what I love about, this show and kind of what I'm trying to put out there is that we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all scratch our face when we're thinking, or, have our dogs that jump up. And it's not a moment where I just have to stop, like the whole thing is a failure and start over. And that's been very difficult and freeing at the same time, to let that part of myself go, to say, I don't care that my hair wasn't perfect, or I don't care that Gertrude decided she was going to jump up on the couch and lay her 80-pound body up against me while I'm trying to probably tell some kind of deep, profound story, because I'm human and you're human. And the more we externalize the little things that make us human, the less we'll feel like we have to be perfect, the less that we feel like we have to be on all the time. And that's what I want for people. I want people to be able to be themselves and not be scared and not be ashamed or embarrassed, to really just be comfortable with who they are and know that they have a safe place where they can find someone else that's doing the same thing. So you all have a mosaic. You all have characters that you love, and they're not random. They're tiny clues trying to get your attention, to point out the things that you need to see in yourself. And it's great to finally be able to see that. So you're not becoming someone new. You're assembling who you've always been. So next time, we're going to talk about the moment that the mosaic fragments stop being fragments and start becoming the whole identity. And that's when everything clicks. So stick with me. I'll see you in the next episode.